Spacestation Gaming didn't look as strong as people might have expected, and I guess this is the question, is I had alluded that the performance at LAN was not representative of the team. Was I wrong?
I wouldn't say that the LAN performance kind of transitions here to the online. I still think that they need to figure something out. eUnited is not an easy opponent to overcome by any stretch of the imagination. These are normally going to be your top two North American teams. So to see these Titans battle it out for the first North American set, very excited to see the second game.
Well, let's get right into the picks and bans for game number 2 here. Like we had the conversation earlier, the commentators have said, look, Guan Yu not handleable by Spacestation Gaming. Do you ban out the Thoth as well? Taco asked that question. I mean, where is your mind if you're coaching SSG right now?
Well, eUnited wanted the Guan Yu, and they banned Circuit as opposed to the Odin. They're more afraid of that Assassin's anti-healing than the Odin's anti-healing, because there's so many counters towards the Odin, being able to just lock him down. Awilix as well, if Scream ever wanted to play that. So if I'm SSG's coach, honestly, the Guan Yu, with their bans of the Terra and the Athena the last game, I like those bans, but the Guan Yu is a little difficult to handle. They need to have an aggressive jungler that can really sit in that lane and not allow that Guan Yu to transition, whether it's going to be solo lane or support Guan Yu.
Well, Spacestation going to ban it out this time around, which does leave Athena open as a first selection if United want to go in that direction. Obviously, a number of powerful junglers as well, but it will be the Athena for likely PolarBearMike. But don't forget, this character has found her way in the hands of Benji, and I'm pretty sure Scream has not played in the jungle, but something to keep in the way back of your mind. Hachiman, on the other hand, is likely in the hands of BaRRaCCuDDa.
BaRRaCCuDDa struggled a little bit in the last game. There was just so much damage from Venenu that he couldn't escape, and I think that he needs that confidence booster back into him, and against this team specifically, I don't think he's going to find it against United.
I like the Thoth pick, taking it away from United's mid laner. That's what it is more so for me. Yes, Baskin gets to play Thoth now, but taking it away from Venenu might be more important. Achilles here for eUnited next to the Ra, character that we saw banned out completely during the European set. Now I think a lot of fans at home are saying, well, of course it was banned in the European set. It was Wolfie, and Wolfie has a fantastic Ra. But I think Ra in general is very, very popular right now in the hands of the high-ranking players.
eUnited has Rival's dream composition, and Spacestation Gaming, whether it's their coach or otherwise, whoever made this call for the Chang'e before secondary ban. Very interesting, very spicy, anti-healing, going to be very fruitful, not to mention that he can avoid a lot of CC if he could time that Moonlight Dance.
I like the fact that Chang'e came out before the second round of bans. One, because it leaves the ambiguity there. Is this going to be a jungle Chang'e? Is this going to be solo Chang'e really not that popular right now, but I think you could make an argument for jungle, solo, and maybe even support. We've seen the support Aphrodites and the support Hells. Can support Chang'e work?
I haven't seen it personally, but anything works at least once, and then everyone tries to dissect it after that. They're like, all right, never again shall we
You might try everything once, but I don't know about the pros here, Tully.
Well, we'll see. But they have Sylvanus and Chang'e. Double sustain, trying to fight fire with fire, as Ra is going to be the sustain option for United.
How do you pronounce that god's name, the fourth selection for United?
H-O-U space Y-I.
Oh, yeah. Fenrir, going to be the doggo here for eUnited. Spacestation Gaming next to Sylvanus will pick the Awilix. So this looks like it's going to be either a solo Chang'e or a solo Awilix, both of which I think are acceptable. You are the master of the solo lane.
It has to be a Awilix jungle simply because Fenrir has locked it. Now, granted that Fenrir can easily flex as well, considering that it's Achilles, so it's mind games for both of these teams. You're looking for the Awilix to counter the Fenrir, but then you're also looking for the Chang'e to have like a very easy lane. Fenrir against Chang'e, I think Chang'e should be fine in that matchup, but she would struggle more against the Achilles.
This is really uncharacteristic for Spacestation Gaming, usually towing very close to the traditional and not really venturing off into the oddball picks. Do you think this is a positive or a negative for SSG?
I think it's neutral. I don't think it's a positive or a negative. It's still week 1. There's plenty of time to experiment. Even if they go down in week 1, 0-2 to eUnited, I'm still not worried for them in weeks 2 and onward.
Totally holding on to the strength of the schedule. I actually think this is a very big positive. Spacestation Gaming have had trouble veering away from the meta. Even if this doesn't work, I'm excited to see them working their brain in this direction, trying out the oddball stuff. Bring us the action, Hondu and Taco.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Hondu, that's Taco, just so you guys know at home. So, Space Station definitely experimenting here. We saw game 1, they ran the Odin support, which we've not seen for quite a while out of them. And now we see the Chang'e and the Awilix, who guys we've not seen
I don't
too
care
much
about
of.
anybody else in this game except for the Awilix. I'm just going to let that one get
I
dropped
know
right
you
now.
love Awilix.
I love
but
Awilix. She's my baby.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So she's against the Fenrir as well. So Fenrir's match up against that, is that a really easy game, easy life scenario for Awilix?
All jokes aside, I do think that Awilix definitely a counterpick, a specific counterpick against the Fenrir, but also looking at PandaCat here on the Ho-Yi. I mean, we saw andinster spending a lot of time over in the dual lane as is in game 1. Kind of expecting to see the same thing happen with the Awilix now in game 2, or at least I would have to hope so, considering that he did pick a god that's exceptionally strong against hunters with leaps.
Well, 75% of your last game said Space Station win. What about game 2 with the Awilix and, of course, the Chang'e? Get your votes in chat. We'll have a look at those as we get ourselves into game for this one. I'm excited to see how this one plays out. eUnited up 1-0. It is a best of 3 after all. The good news is these two teams will play each other twice, and we're going to start off with Aquarius on the solo Chang'e, getting the beat down from Benji early.
I think we could probably expect to see this all game long, especially in the solo lane. And I think this is probably the most surprising part of the draft of Space Station this game, is that you know that Benji is going to fully abuse being left alone in the solo lane pretty much, and having the ability to pretty much full pressure by himself. And yet Space Station are 100% okay with accepting that part of things.
Aquarius
Just to have the Chang'e.
Play this very passively at the start of the game more than anything else. Good news for eUnited though, is specifically for Scream. He got his own speed buff at the start of the game. He'll be excited about that. He's not going to be behind right at the beginning of this game. Baskin on the top this time, taking that one away from Venenu. A lot of healers, Taco, today. A lot of healers, including the Sylvanus now being added to the fray too. Is it that time to start talking about healing meta?
I really don't want to think about it.
It's coming.
It hurts me every
It's
single
coming.
time I do. But it's probably already here. It's been right around the corner for quite some time, and well, it's full-fledged upon us now.
Oh, Scream gonna use the beats to go aggressive on Baskin because Baskin used the stun. But anyway, for the cleanup crew and does so. Scream juking around in the heel for half a second and he wants to give chase, but he jukes him back the other way. Instead, Andy has to result in going in on Venenu, but Venenu's able to just box it out for the most part. Oof. He'll survive. And eUnited come up big in the mid lane.
They're both so low, but Scream gets so much out of that one lead.
Yep.
He's already feigning against Andy, kind of just begging him to go in.
That's kind of how you deal with a Thoth though in the early stage. If he uses that dash, you want to go aggressive, especially when the stun's down. Uses the beads, leaps on his head, has the rune stacks, stun, job's done.
That was just a perfect gamble. You're just assuming Venenu isn't going to miss a Celestial Beam and get the cleanup kill for the first blood. So even if Scream were to have died there, it still wouldn't have been the first blood.
This was really good work from PolarBearMike, who gets pulled back in again, but most of the cooldowns already been used onto Mike earlier on, as Mike was doing a good job of trying to even up the wave clear there. Oh, those numbers slipped, Taco. Those numbers slipped.
Not nearly as drastic as Game 1's choices, but Andy looping around the backside of Benji. Benji now knows that he's here. Surprised he didn't try to toss out a knockup from a distance.
Yeah, just go for the knockup, see if you can find a home with it, cause some problems. I mean, he's not got his ultimate available, obviously, but just put a bit of damage on instead. He'll save his mana, pick up some farm, and head back for his own speed buff, leaving Baskin, who just fell, to continue farming in mid. Do you reckon we see Baskin go for the run of Tahuti here, the same way we saw Venenu do it?
It's debatable, but that is a very heavy gold sink. And speaking of which, Scream is about to give some gold to Space Station for free.
No, I mean, in PolarBearMike's words, he was trolling there because he had no beads. He just used them and decided to dash on to try and get the buff.
He was acting like a ward for his team to let them know the Space Station are still there.
See, there you go. He let the team know the right way, I guess. But it gave a kill over to BaRRaCCuDDa. Venenu in the jungle, going to get picked up by Andy. The mobility from Ra, though, he may be too much, and he will slip away unscathed. I mean, not unscathed, he's going to lose a full wave to the tower.
Does Andy have 2 points in his feather step right now? That's all I want to know, because
He may do.
He might actually have the 2 points in the Feather Step, and that's exactly why we saw so much damage happening there, because Awilix did receive a nerf a while ago, and that her Feather Step doesn't deal nearly as much damage in the early game, because before, it was pretty nuts, and I think you were definitely sleeping on Awilix for snowball factoring to win some of your rank TP. But now that he's at level 4, he's going to have Suku available, and he won't have to worry about 10 HP kills slipping away from him.
And those numbers just on the screen there, if you saw, it said 2 times once you get the auto attacks up first of all on the target, which means, you know, 40 is actually 80, 70 is 140, and that can really add up at rank 1, rank 2 of the ability, which it used to be.
Awilix also gets more damage, I believe, if she's the one who starts the initiation.
Yeah. Oh, Benji versus Aquarius, still the trade's going on. Waxing Moon is available for Aquarius if he chooses to use it. And Benji, meanwhile, just continuing to try and bully the lane. It's not working out as well as he would hope to, though. Aquarius did a good job of running in, getting some damage off on the minions, running back out again, making sure he doesn't take too much poke and stays even with Benji.
And that's going to be something as well that we kind of need to keep an eye on here, is that Aquarius can't really afford to do anything more than sit on his T1 tower line, which means if Benji wants to rotate, there's not a whole lot Aquarius can really do to stop it. He's got to just let that Achilles roam free, and this is where Spacestation really has to be super wary of the map and their presence on it, because you don't know if Scream's just going to be dropping deep wards like he is right now. However, looking at those back RPs, he's going to get contested.
Yeah, Andy's going to find him too. The trade between the minions happens. Beads used early by Scream so he can leap away. Andy wants to give chase with Suku. No one coming. He's going to have to force the Ragnarok out. Andy's still in range. He was looking for the cancel there into the knock-up. Not going to find it, however. And Venenu back on the side of the map.
Scream's got to be careful, though. He can't use his Brutalize, and he can't use his Leap either, especially not with those beads having been forced out. And Baskin looking to alleviate some of this pressure. Going to get some help, though, out of that Defender of Olympus.
Going to jump onto andinster, and 4-on-1 right now. Snipe off the mark from Venenu, and Andy will get away. In goes Scream for the cleanup, and Venenu secures it over the wall. Sustain comes into play, mainly for eUnited, who now want to take the blue buff. The rotation worked out big from PolarBearMike joining the fray.
Perfect timing by Scream as well, waiting until Andy had used the jump from Suku before jumping in himself. That way he didn't have to worry about the quick 180 turnaround into the ultimate.
And look what Spacestation managed to do on the left-hand side. All they could really do was punish the proxy a wave, because PandaCat, well aware he was going to be left on his own there, played it safe, went back to base, doesn't lose the tower, so that works out well for eUnited. I actually thought that was Spacestation's on the right-hand side, knowing that, you know, Scream had used everything to disengage. The Spacestation came in to try and make something happen. Instead, he got turned around on that.
It probably would have been just fine for Spacestation had it not been for that meddling Athena.
Curses. The Athena starting to make impacts throughout the day. Variety early on in the solo lane with it as well, showing that Athena has slowly but surely climbed the ladder of competitive viability as the season's gone on.
She OP. That's all I gotta say. Not as broken as Geb.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. And I still firmly believe that Geb is like the best Guardian in the game.
Listen, shield and a cleanse, it's always going to be useful.
That's exactly why it's broken, is because I can't get kills.
That's fair. That's the whole job. Deny the kills where possible. So both those kills going to Venenu in the mid lane has helped to get his build going. He's still on even keel with Baskin, though, at the moment. Both of them working what could be Ratatouille, what could be, at the same time, Chronos Pendant. We'll see, but JeffHindla's in trouble. Very good ultimate out of Jeff to deny the Scream ultimate coming through from the Ragnarok, and Jeff will escape with his whole life intact. BaRRaCCuDDa, though, trying to reinitiate, gets the archery off on 3 targets. Rotation in from Baskin, looking from downtown to fire the shot. He's not got the bonus range. Scream's going to nip out round the back, and he's thinking about going in. Instead, he's going to take the purple as Venenu's low, and Baskin. It's not often we get to say he's off the mark, but he was then.
I couldn't even tell if Venenu moved his mouse enough to get the juke off. BaRRaCCuDDa going to be forced out of his purification beads, but Baskin going to end up finding Scream on the back end.
2.
Now it's going to be Jeff finding another onto Venenu, but PandaCat still takes out Andy.
Yeah, Andy went in a little bit too deep there, looking for that cleanup kill, and wasn't able to get out in time. 3-3 then with Spacestation making a rotation of BaRRaCCuDDa now coming back in. He used his beads already. However, Devour's Gauntlet's online for PandaCat, so he can sustain a little bit better here. And I think that's one of the reasons we see Baskin slip towards mid.
It's felt insanely awkward between these two junglers as well. I feel as though neither of them are really getting a whole lot of benefit out of their ultimates in most of the team fights that have already broken down. And on top of that, it seems as though they both feel equally restricted by the enemy teams. And so it's like, I want to go in, but I know that I can't, but I know I'm going to take damage anyway. I guess I'll just stand here for now, and then they die.
Venenu in the mid lane, though, doing good work with farm, but someone more importantly, Benji. But man fight on the left-hand side, it's a 2-on-2. BaRRaCCuDDa going to try and leap away, and does so because they cancel out onto PolarBearMike. Andy had to use his beads. A ricochet off the wall. Back the angle perfectly, and Andy will fall down.
Oh, man. I thought he was just going to fall back right there.
That was predicted.
He should have kept it going.
It was a good shot. But JeffHindla, with those taunts, Panda's a little bit too far forward. Ooh, that pull. Couldn't find it. That could have spelled trouble for either PolarBearMike or PandaCat there. But what a great little ricochet to make sure that gank failed.
And that's really rough for Andy. 0-3-2, so he's clearly had a lot of kill participation. I mean, he's been involved with most that have happened, but there's not many kills that have happened. 2 out of 3, sure, but you want to get ahead on Awilix.
Oh, juked out. Aquarius dodges the ultimate out of Benji. PolarBearMike here, though, not going to look for the taunt chase. Instead, it's focused on the tier 1 tower. Benji backing, but andinster on the rotation. He's going to try and bring down some minions. Gets taunted instead, and Andy's just going to be here to make sure this tower stands. Not sure it's going to stand for long, though, Taco.
Most likely not. I mean, PBM's full health, Scream's coming in. All the forces have arrived. I don't even think they're going to be able to protect this blue buff at this rate.
Oh, I don't think so. Chang'e limping back from base. No teleport available for Aquarius. Did invest in the beads early on. JeffHindla, though, will turn up to help secure the blue buff. Tier 1 tower will fall down as they go for the blue instead.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Jeff's here.
That's all that needs to happen. He turns up. Oh, actually, he's going to be able to save the wave in the tower,
There's just a mandatory howdy over his head everywhere he goes on the map and shows up for his team.
It's just typical Jeff. Turns up and goes, hey, guys, how's it going? Yeah, I'm just here to try and save lives and maybe get some experience if I can, if you don't mind. Currently level 9. He's got a kill for himself, though, which is better than most supports can have at this stage of the game.
Well, Sylvanus does have some pretty strong dot damage as well, so even if you don't want the kill early on, a lot of times you still end up taking it.
Both mages this game round, though, going for the Chronos Pendant. Aquarius, Shoes of Focus, and looking like a Breastplate of Valor next on top of that, so 30% CDR at this stage. Not something you want to write off with a Chang'e.
And Baskin, like you said, the Chronos Pendant, not that BaRRaCCuDDa that we saw out of Venenu in the previous match. I'm definitely going to have to ask him about that one later. Yeah. Because I really want to know if it was just the circumstance of my team has a lot of range damage. I think that I can poke them out sufficiently and get the confirmation of the kill.
Or just the gold that he had in hand, and he's like, well,
he had a ton of gold. He was farming pretty efficiently. He wasn't really ever behind.
The item is 150 power. I keep saying that because 150 is 150. We'll find out one day. Maybe Venenu will let us know what he was thinking, or maybe he wants to keep it a secret so the other teams don't start joining him. It worked because he won the game. Aquarius, though, 2 levels down to Benji in the laning phase, and kind of expect this in the situation. Chang'e is more of a warrior mage in terms of how she plays the laning phase. She's very Bruiser-esque. But Aquarius, you know, he's up against the Achilles, and Achilles is like the master of the solo lane right
It's like
now.
the moment where like,
oh,
actually hold that thought, because JeffHindla trying to get away right now, has to pop his own sprint, but PBM using that Defender of Olympus was looking to go in with Scream on the mid lane.
Yeah, and Scream going to take more damage than he bargained for from Baskin, who just dodged back to safety in time. Bit surprised by JeffHindla's position there, just a little bit too far forward on his own. Nearly cost him his life.
He did have BaRRa right behind him, and I think he was trying to trick PandaCat in a way to push up further, or at least use that jump, because if PandaCat uses the escape, he's probably going to end up dying between the damage of the mounted archery and everything else. And I love this out of Spacestation just immediately pulling that goal fury.
Taunt from PolarBearMike only hits JeffHindla. JeffHindla doesn't get hit by this snipe, but does get his knock up in time. Jukes out the damage from Venenu and forces out PolarBearMike, leaving Scream to pick up BaRRaCCuDDa, who went in for the kill. And now it could be trouble for Baskin. He has the beads and try and run away. The execute is available, but the long range dash is good. Still Scream giving chase, and they'll pick up another kill.
And what was once a potentially promising Gold Fury attempt got spotted out pretty quickly there by eUnited. Benji's rotation should mean a pretty free Gold Fury.
Hold your horses. I mean, Chang'e, she's got a lot of damage on the Waxing Moon, stuns people in place.
They know he's there.
She's got to go for the execute. You see the pings? They know it. They're going to try and zone her away. Gold Fury's getting low. He's looking for the health bar. Just trying to buy some time. Beats. Waxing Moon and United get the Gold Fury. And say goodnight to Aquarius, because for all his hard work, he will fall down here. Andy, though, with that 3-man may have saved him, but Venenu was on the mark.
Imagine if Gravity Surge could pull everybody that gets knocked up in a moment.
That'd be really good.
That'd be insane.
That'd be really good. Just pull the whole team away. At Fire Giant pits, when they all get hit by the knock-up, you can pull them all off the Fire Giant.
All right, I take that one back.
See?
That's a little bit too much.
Gotta think about those things. 7-3, eUnited lead this one. Spacestation up against it yet again. Now, a lot of this comp, though, you know, with the Aquarius and the solo lane playing Chang'e, it's not an early game comp by any stretch, Taco, but they've got a lot of work to do now because multiple members are now behind.
I mean, I actually disagree with that a little bit. I do think that this was an early game, or meant to be an early game composition based around getting andinster ahead. It just did not pan out in the way that I think Spacestation imagined it would.
I don't know what that fight is from andinster now, but he's in a lot of trouble. Luckily, he's got Baskin and Jeff in the rotation. Maybe that was the trick to try and catch Benji out, who gets pulled back in towards Andy. He feather steps the auto, though, from Benji on the damage that was coming through. And Aquarius will get credit for the kill. Finally, raid boss down.
I think one of the primary reasons we don't really get to see Awilix too often in competitive PC play, I want to specify on the PC side of things, because she was popular on console. But it's just because a lot of players know how to maneuver around that gravity surge and how to avoid the knockup. Most pros have a response time quick enough that they'll hear the audio cue of that third ability being tossed out, and so as soon as they hear the Moonlight Charge, they're immediately going to turn around.
That's fair. And the one thing about these builds as well, looking at the junglers specifically, you can see the Awilix go for the Crusher. Obviously, more auto-attack base is Awilix, so that makes a lot of sense to use that attack speed from the Crusher and the additional dot damage, whereas Scream, Masamune, Inti, and Seele, both great items for the compies against.
Would have liked to see a Jotuns, though. Awilix kind of suffers from lack of cooldown, and being able to rush it on her is usually where you're going to get most of your bang for the buck, because cooldown is so cheap. You can go into the Jotuns and then hi-rez, and then you've got 30% cooldown for free pretty much. You're spamming your abilities non-stop, and it's very hard to get away from you then.
Also, keep an eye on Benji's build there. He rotates to the left-hand side to try and protect that tier 1 tower, but BaRRaCCuDDa will pick it up. He has picked up the Cursed On, so he's going to deny some of that healing coming out from Space Station Gaming with Wisps and with Chang'e. Both those things are heals that can be denied, but the upgraded version is where that will really come into play against someone like Sylvanus, because that dot will refresh the damage exploitation that eUnited are going to have.
And that's the worst part, too, to think about is I believe it's 20% once it's been upgraded of increased damage taken. And so what I really want to see out of eUnited, now that they've got a fairly comfortable map pressuring all around, I think they could start baiting out the Pyromancer even. They probably wouldn't even need their entirety of their team to do so. They could probably just leave PandaCat in either side lane and just have him pushing up the waves in their favor. But just their core composition between Scream, Venenu, and PolarBearMike, eUnited can pressure just about any objective on the map.
I will say there's been a fair bit of fight in this game just because the supports are actually level 12. They're not that far behind right now compared to where they would normally be compared with the state of the game. But left-hand side, BaRRa is in trouble, being aggressed on by 2. Horsey will come through, but still, the chase is available, and Benji will get credit for the kill. Picked up on the left-hand side, and that gives Scream some time to pick up the tower. Pressure for Venenu, who's still alive!
Everything was on point, but Andy's going to get taunted away. He wasn't able to use the purification beads because they're simply not available. He dropped them earlier. Just
and now
then.
Benji gonna make the rotation, but gets stunned by Baskin. Baskin gonna walk back towards mid lane here. Space Station look a little bit out of sorts today so far, Taco.
They have not seemed on the same page. A little discombobulated, for sure. And I think that this is a Space Station that we aren't used to seeing. We certainly hold them to a much higher standard, and I also think that they hold themselves.
Caught him! And he managed to catch Scream around the corner. Beads already used. He used the beads to make sure he could leap away from the ultimate out of Andy, and with the Ragnarok continue to get away. Baskin, though, gonna get stunned by Benji. Ultimate already used, so Benji doesn't really have much else apart from the dashes to try and get away. The chase is on, though. Aquarius, level 14 to the 16, won't be able to find the kill.
2 junglers at the speed buff. I think we all know what happens there.
Speed
Even with
dies.
Suku, it's not going to be enough because Andy's speed had worn off, and I think he lost that one to Benji too on the opposite side of the map. Seems as though it was invaded. No, actually, BaRRaCCuDDa was able to confirm it, or somebody was from Space Station.
8-4, then. It's a 5k gold lead for eUnited. They did just get that Pyromancer. And with that, the Gold Fury is due to spawn in about 20 seconds time. Tell a lie, it's up right now. Gold Fury and Fire Giant both available. Gold Fury is still important here, Taco.
Gold Fury is a lot more important, though, for Space Station than what it is for eUnited. eUnited, however, can choose to use this Gold Fury as a pure baiting objective in that they don't need the Gold Fury by any means. They're already ahead. Speaking of which, they just want Andy.
Well, Scream just already used his beads earlier on and was forced out of that to half health again. Tries to get in the heal, but PandaCat surrounded. Aegis is a lot of the damage, but he can't Aegis the further step from andinster. PandaCat already dead, and Benji stunned means he can't follow up. Space Station group nicely as a 5-man unit, and they are going to pull the Gold Fury.
And that's the strong benefit of Awilix. Everybody able to collapse immediately onto that Ho Yi. You don't get the cooldown back.
But not in time. Space Station get the Gold Fury. Benji stunned in place, has to ult away. Mid lane, Scream going to try and split push a little bit there, unable to do anything else. Space Station, that was it. You said it was more important for Space Station, and they find that gold.
A very needed Gold Fury to try and even things back up a little bit here. That experience and the gold gap were starting to be pretty high between these two teams, and so now that Space Station have not necessarily closed it all the way, but are certainly still keeping things in a contestable range.
It feels like when I'm looking at team fights here, Taco, eUnited have a very sporadic team of like go into the back line, stay at the front line. I think Space Station are very much a clump that are going to move around together as a unit. With that Chang'e and the Sylvanus too, if you can just stay clumped as a group, it's very hard to like break that clump down.
And that's exactly why we see such an early upgrade of the Ankh even from Benji. Level 17 here, and before even finishing off his own items, chooses to spend 500 gold to make sure that that additional damage could be applied against the likes of Space Station, because they do have to heavily rely on being grouped together. I think that Awilix is one of those gods where sure, you can garner a pretty large lead for yourself, but you're always going to need your team to help out.
Venenu was shooting off into Timbuktu. Not the real plan there. PandaCat, meanwhile, gets picked off as he had no beat or Aegis whatsoever. I think Venenu just made an awkward mistake there. BaRRaCCuDDa made one, and he loses both his relics there as the oracles will go down as well. Back and forth encounter.
Baskin just a little thick right now, so that's why it's still hit.
I guess that's one of the reasons for it. Baskin in the mid lane, they're looking for the stun, and Venenu and finds it. Venenu dropped very low. Oh, the ultimate will not connect. Aegis at the last second for Venenu will save his life, but pressure for Space Station in mid. They're looking to try and use this to their advantage. Is this a fire giant?
Seems like both of his actives were burned out. I mean, you've got Benji in Space Station's jungle. I think that they'd rather kill Benji first.
Well, they're going to be able to find Benji because the wraparound is available from BaRRaCCuDDa as well, waiting for when Benji tries to get away. Good ultimate cancelled out by Benji. Benji still trying to run. Ingham Scream and PandaCat waxing moon onto 3, and Benji is no more. Mike's looking to dash away, but just CC chained out of being able to dash. Another 2 kills for Space Station Gaming.
And everything that eUnited had spent so long building up is starting to crumble before their very eyes. T1 Tower in the solo lane gonna fall now against the likes of Space Station with only 3 members left to defend. This could very well be a T2 into Fire Giant.
It's this ball of death that Space Station have formed in this group where they're just all sustaining. Lotus Crowns available for them. Anti-heal to deal with the Raw 2. Tier 2 Tower gonna fall, and eUnited trying to answer one back in the mid lane.
The genius of tactical feeding has struck yet again here for the likes of Space Station and Scream, resorting back to some old habits, because old habits are hard to break.
4,500.
Split push extraordinaire.
4,500 structure damage. You'll get a tier 2, but he won't get a fire giant unless Venenu is coming here to try and secure. He was just a little bit too late. Instead, he's going to get half health again, and Scream realizing that he's in a terrible territory and has to get away before they spot him.
And he has like negative mana. There's no way.
Oh, blink. Didn't manage to find the ultimate, though, did Andy say. I don't think he expected the leap there more than anything else, but he let Scream get away.
He just needed the knockup to try and slow Scream down. That way the rest of his team, who did have mana, could catch up. But by himself, Andy not going to be able to find it. And, well, Scream certainly happy to have gotten away, because he not only gets Andinster's Blink Relic, which is going to be super important during some of these tower sieges, but he also just gets the lift, and he took a T2 tower as well.
It does feel like Space Station woke up halfway through this game. You know, like game 1 didn't feel like Space Station got out of bed yet, so they hit snooze. And then the start of this game, they were still snoozing. They went, oh, we've got an SPL set to play against the former world champions eUnited. I guess we better wake up and actually try and, you know, put a pot of coffee on, because it seems to have taken effect now.
BaRRa just asked his team to stop trolling, please.
Do you reckon that's what it was?
Yeah.
Word for word?
Well, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So now with the Fire Giant round, all the members of Space Station's waste, they start to group up in the mid lane. Only 2 tier 2 towers remaining. And you saw PolarBearMike there use his ult early to get back to this encounter. Looks like eUnited want to try and fight 5-on-5 at this tier 2.
I think another big thing here too is that Baskin has his itemization online now, so he's really starting to chunk away at some of these health bars that before you're kind of just like quit tickling them to death.
Yep.
And also Baskin has been really on point with connecting those ultimates immediately after poking them out.
And this seems to be the plan from Space Station Gaming now, is to poke them down a little bit more. Try and whittle down the health bars a little bit of some of these carries. But eUnited have some sustain of their own. And pretty good wave clear too. It's going to force JeffHindla to tag a couple of tower shots to get a bit of poke on. Keep an eye on Screammmmm, who's waiting in the wings with that Fenrir.
Which mage is going to clear it out better? Screammmmm popping his steroid in the jungle. It's going to let everybody from Space Station know that he's there.
And he's going to keep poking forward and back. Benji now having to front line. Slowly but surely, the tier 2 tower is being whittled down as both teams try and poke each other down. This is the truest form of healing meta right now in this fight. Sun's rained down as Jeff hits his ultimate off, knocking up 2 targets. Aquarius falling back after taking a bit of poke. Space Station don't want to overcommit. They're trying to waste a couple of the ultimates out of eUnited.
I like this patience, though, by Space Station, because in terms of healing, I do think that they win this one because of the fact that Baskin has the Divine Ruin and there's a Chang'e Sylvanus on the enemy team.
PolarBearMike goes in, gets the ton off Baskin, forced to beads defensively. Snipe up from Venenu, only hits JeffHindla. That won't be enough to bring him down. Take into account the Lotus Crown out of Aquarius, and the chase is on. Waxing Moon on 2, Screammmmm gonna use the Thorns. Tier 2 tower falls, and in goes eUnited for a second with Benji, but now they have to fall back. Big ult from Baskin though.
And they're still looking for more. Baskin's gonna dash on forward, but he's gonna get taunted out immediately. Purification Mates were popped all around, but PandaCat doesn't have him to use. He's gonna get pulled right back in for BaRRaCCuDDa to claim.
And now the Phoenix is under threat too. Everybody on eUnited had to fall back to base. They will lose the Phoenix in mid lane. Space Station Gaming's patience pays off for them there as they find that Phoenix because of how long they waited.
That's all they needed. Just a little bit of a lapse in between eUnited actually managing to sustain. Once they threw out that Sunbreaker, that's all Space Station were waiting for, I think, because that's the big AoE slow that makes you not want to fight underneath it. I think that if Space Station tried to force their way through with brute strength, they probably end up losing that engagement, but by waiting it out and just full-on resetting, letting Aquarius heal everybody in the backside alongside of a little bit of assistance from Jeff, and you're good to go.
And that Gold Fury ends up paying off for Space Station now because they will get... Sorry, that Fire Giant pays off to Space Station now as they will get the Gold Fury, Phoenix, and 2 tier 2 towers. That's not a terrible Fire Giant, even though it looked like it might be at the start.
This all started happening, though, when PandaCat gets picked by the Gold Fury pit. He's by himself, kind of being a little over cocky, I think, with his lead and jumping right in the face of andinster. Of course, Andy's going to want to take your beats every single time, and I don't even think PandaCat was expecting him to ult there. No. Andy really has not been tossing out that Awilix ultimate very often, mostly because of the fact that he's dying in the early game, and also partially because of the fact that there haven't been any real opportunities to do so.
And that was the first real one that he managed to find on PandaCat, and it came into play. Fire Giant about to spawn. You'll see it flash momentarily before it does appear. Benji and Screammmmm already here. No wards down from them. No wards in their inventory either. Very unusual to see that. I guess they're trying to save for gold.
I am not a fan of this Screammmmm Fenrir build.
Really?
Not at all. It's just that I can understand the Nemean and the Achilles. I think that Fenrir is certainly a god that you can build a little bit more bruiser related on, but Stone Cutting Sword, why? 10% movement speed, you're never going to get your auto attacks off.
I mean, the mobility is going to get him away more than anything else. We'll see if that works out for him now as Space Station attempt the Fire Giant here. Mike and Benji leading the charge. Force back Space Station for now. Top of the player damage is Baskin with Baskin amounts of damage. That's all you really need to know. Don't ask questions because we just know it's more than what Benji's done so far. eUnited in a safe enough position to just pull Space Station around for a moment or two. Don't have to worry about 5 minions in mid just yet, Taco, but it has to be a thought in the back of the minds.
If eUnited are going to take up a fight, though, it'll probably want to be based around that Soul Reaver proc. Don't want any of your squishies to get caught out by it, because whether it's a stun or even just a standard damage of assault, it's going to be Baskin looking for the ultimate off the PolarBearMike.
Oh, Mike eats a lot of poke, but he's going to survive for the time being. In goes Scream, out goes Scream. He was forced to beats, tried to Ragnarok, and BaRRaCCuDDa blew him up. Great work from andinster there, as now Benji's trying to get away. The long-range shots from the Dragon Bow out of BaRRaCCuDDa will allow andinster to bring down Benji. And Baskin, even though he just ate a lot of damage from Venenu, he's still going aggressive because the whole squad's coming too.
Andy not able to catch up just yet, though. A preemptive beats out of Venenu is going to make sure that they stay alive, and exactly what you just said. There is no way to deal with this Chang'e right now.
Well, it's not just the Chang'e, it's the Chang'e with the Rod of Asclepius and the Lotus Crown, and then the Wisps. Now the Wisps are getting bonus healing too because of the Rod of Asclepius. This is how comps form and cause problems. 11,000 healing for Chang'e. 7,000 for a Sylvanus is a big note to make as well.
All of the damage that eUnited has been trying to apply has been completely negated, basically, because of Spacestation's healer comp.
And can we look at like eUnited's composition in terms of itemization here? The only one really with anti-heal in the kit is Benji.
Hindu,
Nobody else has got any.
are you ready for your solo Chang'e?
I'm okay. I don't play solo lane, so I'm not worried about it.
It's going to be on your team, though.
And it's going to get
And
farmed
it's
by
not going to
Achilles.
be Aquarius.
It's gonna, someone's going to like be first pick and go, don't worry, guys. I'm going to leave Achilles open and they're going to first pick it because I'm playing Chang'e and it's not going to go.
They really, no, but they're going to be completely sold that that is the play.
Yep. They'll see the scoreboard after this, potentially. I mean, hopefully if eUnited win it, then we never have to see Chang'e again in the solo lane, right?
No, just it being pulled out in general means that it can be placed pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we only saw Aphrodite solo, yet for whatever reason, my Aphrodites only ever seem to go into the mid lane.
So I mentioned a little bit about eUnited's builds in terms of anti-healing. There's not much in it. Do you think they need more? They should have more in their builds here?
I don't think there's a whole lot more that they could do realistically.
Well,
I mean, maybe a Divine Bruin onto Venenu.
Yeah, nothing on Raw, nothing on Scream here. I guess PandaCat is going for Brawler's last item here to try and do something with that, maybe?
No, he's going for the Titan's Bane.
Oh, okay.
And I do feel as though this is mostly on Scream.
Nothing on Mike either, like Pestilence. Like, I'm kind of a bit of a loss of why we see a lack of
I'd sell the
anti-heal.
stone cutting for Brawlers if you're Fenrir, and then like I said, I like the Lotus Crown. I think that it's because he's been struggling with trying to make up for the sustain, but it feels as though Venenu is split between wanting to deal damage and wanting to just play healer for his team. But I think he should just invest purely for the damage and utility, because if he looks for the sustain route, he's still going to end up losing against Chang'e Sylvanus.
Well, this middle lane Phoenix is weakened. Nice little ricochet from PandaCat, just keeping Baskin in check. But one quick heal and Baskin's back to full health. Not even taking into account the Fire Giant that also gives some regen. Left-hand Phoenix being pushed here at the moment too.
For what it's worth, I also think that Scream shouldn't have gone Thorns and should have picked up another Curse Donk.
Well, it's not working out so well for eUnited. But they are up 1-0. This is a best of 3, and this Phoenix defense could come back in their favor. We're looking at Mike, really, for a big old 3-4-man ton. And that's why Spacestation have to be very wary of what Mike chooses to do here.
A lot of respect being given, though, still to eUnited. Despite Spacestation having a pretty substantial lead now, they still don't feel completely comfortable just full-on engaging underneath.
Ooh, Jeff tried to bring Mike in, and Mike came in himself. Snipe onto BaRRa and Jeff going to get fallen down too. Brought back in by the Ragnarok. Pressure relieved by eUnited. Benji and PolarBearMike timed that beautifully.
And that's what it's all about. You got to find Jeff. That's where it all begins. Because if you can break apart one member of this draft, you're still at an advantage. Even if it's not one of the core members, Jeff's just there to absorb damage to begin with. And
it's a ball of death. That's what this comp feels like to me. It's a ball of death. Whenever you try and get away
a
from
wrecking
it.
ball?
Yeah, whenever you try and... Came in like a wrecking ball, yeah. In the jungle, Benji tries to make a play, but Benji's in trouble. Snipe came through from Baskin, but it wasn't enough to bring Benji down. BaRRa, though, is going to try and make it, and will do so with a mounted archery. And now it's a 4-on-4.
That's Space Station's Hunter, and they're still looking for more. Scream's going to go down for the count as well, and BaRRaCCuDDa's still trying to give chase.
And then goes Baskin as well, trying to keep the poke going over the wall. He'll find the kill on PandaCat, and it's only Mike and Venenu left alive.
Wait, do they have a wave? Oh.
No wave.
Not anytime soon, at least, but still soon enough. I think that this could be a potential end here out of Space Station.
How long have you got? We've got 40 seconds on 3 members pretty much here. It's up to Mike and Venenu to turn this around. Is it weak and Phoenix? If Mike falls down, that could be a real problem for them. Baskin needs to find those attacks and will do so. BaRRaCCuDDa threads the needle with the in-hand. And now with that, the Feet Titan, it's under pressure. Taco, you're right. They may be able to end.
And they're looking for it. Baskin going to be the one tanking up the Fiend, or the Titan, excuse me, and Venenu not going to be able to connect either off of that ultimate, and as a result, searing pain for eUnited as it falls short.
The murder ball of death came online from Space Station. They grouped up. They managed to find the win with the lowest crowns and the amount of sustain they've got with the Wisps. Too much.
That was just a full 180 out of nowhere, and I still think that PandaCat is probably going to be kicking himself rewatching the game and seeing that one pick ended up being the catalyst for so much more.
Well, the Gold Furies ended up going their way as well, but who do you guys at home think was MVP in that game? You can look down the roster and go, well, pretty much everyone had a solid game, I guess. No one really stood out as the be-all and end-all.
This is one of the hardest MVP votes that I think we're going to see in quite some time, because I would have to agree with you. I don't think that any one member of Space Station really had a fantastic showing, so much as it was just the team working together as a unit to actually make it happen.
I think if we had to think about it, I'd probably go Aquarius, just because he survived the laning phase in a negative matchup and then built well for his team and ended up paying off for them. That's me.
I have a hard time calling it. I still think
it's
that's
not up to us.
So
it's up to you guys at home. With that, we'll throw it over to the desk to break down that very interesting game too.
Andinster did it to him, baby.
Oh, yeah.
The Awilix comes out. I'm a big fan of Awilix in general. I think she brings a ton of early game pressure and early game prowess, and through that pressure, she's able to really control things. And the old Fenrir Awilix counter really came through here.
Despite the early deficit that both Andinster and his team suffered, they really managed to bring it back. That hot knock-up at 32 minutes from Andinster really sealed the fate as well. They needed every single kill there to be able to end the game, because easily eUnited could have brought it back.
Watching these teams is really a lot of fun. It brings out the fan in us. Like, don't get me wrong, I really love what I do. We have a lot of fun, but it's work fun. Right, you're watching these games, you're taking notes, whether literal or mental, and you're making a point. Sometimes when we watch this, you, me, and Aggro were actually just sitting out there watching, and Baskin hitting the snipe blind around 20 minutes. And then after the fact, you were talking about the knock-up on that chase down, Baskin dashing forward, getting them through the walls. We're just yelling out there like fans. This is good stuff.
His damage was just through the roof, top of the player damage. He really brought it in Game 2. Same way Venenu brought the Thoth out in Game 1. I think that between these two teams, the contention is the Thoth.
Without a doubt. Andinster looked strong, but Baskin will be your most valuable player here for game number 2, stretching this one out to a third game. And just thank you. I mean, this is exactly kind of what we wanted. The inaugural day of the summer split, we get the 3-game set between Dignitas and Rival. We get the 3-game set between SSG and eUnited. Really, really fun stuff.
So this was the slow start where he did miss that initial stun, but because of the tower dive that Andinster had, he sacrificed himself to allow Baskin to get those kills afterwards. And I think he had about 42,000 player damage at the end of the game. But keep in mind also the healing from both of these two, between the Chang'e and the Sylvanus, Aquarius, and JeffHindla combined, 19,000 healing at 29 minutes.
I wanted to ask you about that Chang'e in the solo lane. What was the impact? Was it positive or negative? Do you want to see them do it again? Ask yourself a question. Basically, Chang'e, Space Station Gaming, question mark.
It worked. I'm not going to say it's a positive outlook for future games, but I think that because of how aggressive eUnited was with their lead, that failed to seal the deal, it worked even better than it definitely should have. The 14-minute dive where Benji missed his Fatal Strike ultimate with the Athena ultimate on top of himself, they basically gave the lead almost back towards Space Station Gaming, especially once PandaCat did a very silly play at the Gold Fury where he tried to go on to Andinster, and when you're going to jump as a Hou-Yi onto Awilix, you're not asking for a good time.
So my question here is, we've watched the Aphrodite succeed in the solo lane, and the ultimate comes through, but really I've stressed that it's about the damage that comes from back off tied up with the jungler. Was this about the healing? Was it about the anti-healing? Or was it about the waxing moon?
It was about about the waxing moon, and it was about the healing collectively. It was so difficult for eUnited to really find the damage to confirm. Any single poke that PandaCat got in the late game was completely negated. He had a great early game start where he found that ricochet bounce onto andinster, but since then PandaCat was a little quiet in the late game, and they needed him to step up.
Game number